Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with educator and influencer DeKeyser. These days, she is a wife and mom of 3 kids who participated in various mom groups, ran a few, even joined some book clubs, but envisioned something different for her life. 2020, she found herself embarking on a new mindset journey and homeschooling all on the same day. She gets into all of this and so much more. Enjoy this interview.
Good. It's great to meet you.
Hey, it's great to meet you, too. Thanks for taking a minute out.
Oh, no problem. It's exciting to get on your podcast.
Excellent. So before we get into your life and exactly what you do, I want to know, how did you survive COVID? How did that time period, how did you get through it, and how did it ultimately change you now that we're kind of coming out of it?
Well, actually, that's actually where my big pivot actually came was after, like, around September 1st, right after everything had happened, and we kind of caved in together as a family and stuff. But then September 1st, I decided that I was like in a mental meltdown and want to do something different. And actually, so September 1st, 2020, I actually started a program called the 75 Hard, and I started homeschooling my 3 kids same day, and went into just a complete overhaul of myself all at once. And I thought we'd actually continue homeschooling my kids, but at the end of the year, they ended up going back to school. Various decisions between my husband and the kids my son really wanting to go back. But the Hard 75, I ended up doing I start with the first 75 days. It's the first challenge I've actually, stuck with. And my husband looked at me kind of like, oh, yeah, one of these things you're going to start and never finish. But then I kept ticking off the days, and then the family started, helping me out. And, when we did our homeschooling, we'd include, the 45-minute walks and stuff just to help me finish up my days and stuff. And I ended up doing all 3 phases of the Hard 75 throughout the year as well. Except there was a big pivot. I don't know if you're familiar with the program or not. Are you at all, or have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, absolutely.
Okay. So anyways, I don't know. The phases some people aren't as familiar with, but in phase 3 of it, you're supposed to basically do everything you did in the Hard 75, but you're also supposed to talk to a stranger a day. You're supposed to do a random daily act of kindness, and there was something else you were supposed to do every day. But so you had to do all of that for the last 30 days before your year ended. If you failed any one of those days, you just failed, according to Andy, you just failed the year, right? Well, I came up to day 25 of that last phase, and I must have fallen asleep reading my 10 pages or something, and next thing I knew, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, and I had not taken my picture for the day. And so it was kind of like a gray area, I hadn't quite woken up for the day or what. I went and took my picture. But then I had this big epiphany, do I finish it? What do I do? Did I fail? And I go, you know what? It really, at that point, doesn't matter. What matters was this journey that I came on, and that I now had all these new habits and things to move forward with. Mm-hmm. And I think that we get lost sometimes always in that finish line, but it's really about that journey and changing those daily habits. And I think because of COVID, I did a lot of those things with the homeschooling and the connections with my kids, and then also doing the 75 Hard program to make some of those changes.
So it almost seemed as though the COVID time period was kind of a blessing in disguise. It really brought a sea change about the way that you lived your life.
Yes, it really did for me. And ironically, at the time before this, I was working for VIP Kids, so I was teaching a lot of the kids in China English, and so I was kind of hearing about their experiences and stuff before it hit us, and it was oh, this seems so far away, it's not going to get to us. I remember going to lunch with a friend, she's COVID's coming. I'm it's over there. We were worried about getting masks to, the kids in China, and, we grouped together to try to send masks over there, and all of a sudden, it's everywhere. It just was a completely change in everything.
You know, I remember a picture around November of 19 where there was no one on the streets of Beijing, and it sent a chill up my spine because I know how populated that city is. And I was like, what is this? And I remember reading into it. And then I think it was probably a few weeks after that, a friend of mine in a neighboring town told me that they already got a letter about the fact that they would be home. And I was like, I went into denial mode because I just couldn't even imagine any of that going on. I have a son who's 17. He has special needs. He loves school. And I was like, I just can't even go there. But it did. It happened really fast. And I think people that had international experience, and I talked to a lot of musicians too, where they would hear about cases over there. And they were like, people were telling them, it's coming. So anyway, that was the beginnings were very strange, and there was so much unknown, as there probably still is pieces of this that are unknown. But so to get a better,
I think that was the scariest part, is the unknown, though. I think us, when we don't understand something, then we just get so scared, and we all like. But I think when we start, I think as coming out of COVID, I think what was really the strong part was the connections that we're starting to make again, and realizing that we do need that human being connected together, and that's what's really helping us merge together a little bit better.
Yeah, community is the key thing, and I think we really realize that. Because there's been things that have happened historically. 9/11 woke everybody up to different realizations, but I think this being global, as long as it happened, and for the humanity to understand where we need to be, I think it was a really big pill that I don't think any of us are going to forget in our lifetime.
I agree, completely agree, and just knowing that what it took to, like, how we had to separate from each other and how hard that was and stuff, and then so knowing now that what it takes to really be a community and stuff, and trying to get through that divide that somewhat in the U.S., but like just that really comes down to making those human connections, and that's what's really going to move us forward.
Absolutely. So let me get a better handle on what you do. Let me take you in front of a bunch of kids at a career day, third graders. And one of the kids looks up at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" How would you answer that child?
What I do for a living right now is I connect people. I want to, partly because of COVID as well, is bring that connection back, because what I see is that we have this feeling of loneliness, and we're shameful of it. I mean, we have this social media in front of us, but we can connect through a computer or these ideas, but we're not necessarily actually connecting. We're trying to put our best self out there and say, well, this is how it is, or present ourselves in a certain way, but that's not how we really feel. And so what I want the kids to understand is that we need to be able to share those feelings with each other and just listen to each other. And so my job is to do that for moms. I work on trying to connect moms together who feel that loneliness and stuff in motherhood, and bring them together to form growth ships and be able to communicate with each other and listen to each other and validate each other with having that human connection with each other.
So talk to me about your childhood and growing up, and what your relationship to education was.
Well, ironically, I went to Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and I'm not practicing at the moment. I so deeply believe in God, but the religion sense of it all, I feel like we need to stop dissecting like religion from the church or stuff, but that we can see it around us and in the way we interact with each other, and the kindness and the experiences that we do for each other, not necessarily that we have to do a certain thing that the church tells us to do or something, or whatever religion, not however people want to believe, but it's mostly how we live our life and that aspect of being kind and nurturing to each other. And that's what it really comes down to, is service and being there for each other. I wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I was actually going to NYU at the time, and had got my English degree, and was like, you get that moment in college, okay, well, I have my degree, what do I do now? And I decided I ended up, based on someone else's recommendation, going back and getting my master's degree in elementary education. So I ended up teaching for quite a few years.
So I guess that's been a part of this too. COVID changed the landscape. I work in a school district, so I've seen how these kids have had to step back and how much they're going to have to kind of catch up. And I think that's kind of the way our society is. Are you noticing that there's a lot of that going on, where everybody's just kind of was stunted for a certain amount of time and we're all trying to catch back up?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think that's actually one of the reasons why I think I chose to homeschool over virtual school. At the time, my dad had cancer, and also did my brother-in-law. So just in terms of that close-knit, we didn't know what the effects of COVID was or anything. So that was one of the reasons we're either going to do virtual or we're going to do homeschooling. And for me, I had put my kids in the summer school virtual because they offered it. I was just kind of curious how it would go. And I felt like a substitute teacher, and it's like, I don't think I can sit at home all day doing this. So that's when I decided to pull my kids and do the homeschooling, because I was like, at least we can still go out in nature and do things and do our own schedule. And so I think a lot of people who might have been in those situations were now homebound all the time. It really did impact the way our thought process, the way we view ourselves, and things that did change in that time period, having that sense of always being home, being separate from each other, and not sure, and that fear we had with COVID of not being able to go out there and do our normal stuff. We were afraid to even just go to the grocery store.
So who have been role models or a hero for you in your life that's really kind of motivated you to be who you are?
I've been working on, actually, through therapy, I've been kind of working on that, and one of the things I was actually kind of surprised about was my dad did actually end up passing away through COVID, not because of COVID, but because of the cancer, and I didn't necessarily realize how much of a role model he was for me till more recently, and reflecting on my childhood and stuff, because a lot of things in there, but it's looking at those people that are always there for you and willing to step up, and he was always one of those people willing to step up. And now a lot of the role models I look at are people who, for instance, one of the first people that got me into the personal development was Jamie Kern-Lima, who, when her Believe It book came out, and I did a day-long seminar with her, and that was one of the first seminars I've ever attended. It was virtual. But just that, where you're coming from and you see people's vulnerability, people being real and actually sharing their journey, not just the effects of it, but what they actually had to go through. And I think a lot of people are always saying, oh, well, this person is here, but they don't look at what it took to get there. I think we need to focus on the process of that and know that we're all going through that journey, and we're just here to support each other to wherever we want to get.
So what is it that you look forward to every day? When you wake up and look at your day and what you have to do, what motivates you? What is it that you look forward to the most?
It's funny because my husband asked me that the other day as well. But I love, right now, I'm trying to focus so much on the present and knowing that my kids, my oldest is almost 12, and then I have a 9 and an 6-year-old, and I know that these days are fleeting, and sometimes they seem long. But so right now, when I wake up, I'm trying to make sure I get in one moment with them each day where I actually just enjoy being with them, because I know that that's not going to be here. And I can worry about this business I want to grow and things, but I know that that's going to still keep going, whereas they're going to be out of the house soon. And so I want to focus on that, but I also want to focus on making sure that I love doing my meditation and my reading, because those focus my mind so that I'm in a better place, that if they do have an outbreak or a meltdown, which inevitably happen, that I'm in a better place to handle that, and I'm not automatically, my reactions are better than they used to be.
Let's say you have a dream tonight. You read into the younger version of yourself, and you have the chance to give your younger version, maybe in your 20s, a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained throughout all the years. What would you tell your younger version?
To slow down. We're always in a rush to get everywhere, but when we actually take the moments to slow down, like even now it's like taking that moment with each child each day, that we ultimately our end goal is just to be able to enjoy each moment each day. And so if we're so much in a rush, in a hurry to get somewhere, then we're not looking at where we're at now. And we'll get there. And we can not that we don't need to keep working for it, but that each day we need to find those moments to enjoy the day.
So what has been the best fan letter, in quotes, so to speak, that you've gotten, best response from your work that you've gotten that really resonates with you?
I'm just starting a beta course right now, and I was working with a couple women, and I thought I was only going to be doing, my first thought was it was going to be just moms, but ironically, the person that I'm working with right now is not a mom. But one of the things she said, it was just that her motivation has changed, and she's been a chronic smoker her entire life, and now with all these things that we're doing, it's changing her mindset, that she decided now that she wants to quit smoking, and she's working with a hypnotherapist to do that, but she didn't have that mindset before. And so I think it's more that we're just looking at helping each other get to the place that we want to be and working towards that mind shift that we need throughout life, and supporting each other in our choices.
So everyone has a perception or an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, those that you work with, but ultimately you live your life. You have a perception of you. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's a tough question. I think I've always, recently I always pictured myself as a people pleaser. But I'm working towards realizing the more that we go towards our own light and what we want to accomplish, the more that we actually do accomplish. I have struggled with my relationship with my son, and was always, anytime we're so alike that we'd get into these fights, and then he would say something and I would just start yelling back. what I realized was the more that I've worked towards doing this, being an entrepreneur and doing things that I want to do, it's inspired him to want to help me with it, and we've had more genuine connection. So I think in me discovering who I am and working towards it, and not being the people pleaser, but working towards my own goals, has helped me inspire my kids even around me, and he's even helped me with some of my YouTube shorts and things like that. He's excited by it now, and we have a stronger relationship because we're both working towards things we want to do, and I'm not just trying to say, okay, well, I'm the mom, I need to do everything for them.
So if anybody wants to learn more about you and what you do, where can they go? Where's the best place for them to go?
My website, connectingmamas.com, is I have a free course on there called Check-In. It's good for anyone who's geared. It says moms in their love, but it's geared for anyone who just wants to check in with themselves and then learn more about how to check in with others. And that's a free course right there on the website for them, and would love to connect with them more as well.
Excellent. Michelle, thank you for taking time out today. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
Well, thank you, Joe. It was wonderful to meet you today.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, music, and education around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.